I have no idea what I'm doing. It's a test stream. I'm going to jump in and start creating this React app that's going to house my animations. And that is all. That's all I'm doing, just playing around, seeing how it would work to do dev type streaming. My Wi-Fi is jacked. We were cleaning the house yesterday and they accidentally cut the cable, this 100-foot cable that I had running from my what do they call that? I don't know. I call it my server cabinet. It is a tiny cabinet that houses my network equipment. But I ran a cable from where it's housed upstairs all the way down to my studio here, so I can have another Ethernet hub here and have gigabit. But while they were cleaning, they cut the cable. It's kind of hilarious, but also sad because it took a long time to get that cable strung throughout the house. So I got to figure that out. Somehow, fortunately, I must have had another set of cables running through because I still am connected via Ethernet on this computer, but um, I'm also connected somehow somewhere else. So whatever. Just kind of rambling right now. Um, all right. I'll probably get into it. I'm gonna be on for like 30 minutes, and I'm not knowing what I'm doing. I'm really testing just how this type of streaming will work, and I'm gonna go and set up a quick React app to house some animations I've been working on. So the animation that you saw on the screen, I guess I can keep it on the screen as well. Um, is That's hilarious. It's my whole screen. Um, the animation that I'm running is something that I've been exploring with threeJS. So threeJS is this library that lets you do WebGL in the web. Super dope. Which lets you do kind of cool animations like this pretty quickly. They provide an entire library of functions that let you here kind of levels how it works. A very simplistic explanation, and I've spent, mind you, about I've spent a couple hours, but learning the basic concepts before I started running with it, I spent probably like 10 to 15 minutes on it. So this is the 10 to 15 minute understanding of how this works based on the API. You set up a shape and a material. And once you've set up that shape and material, hold on, let me bring up my browser or my code editor that helps me get it better. Um, you set up a geometry, and the geometry actually sets up the object that you're going to throw on the screen. And so as you see here, 3 is the library name, and the function is sphere geometry. And I'll explain a little bit this in a second, maybe. And you set it up with a set of materials, and you or a material with a set of parameters to pass to a material. And 3 gives you a bunch of materials that you're going to end up rendering onto the screen eventually. And with that material, you set up a mesh. And then with that mesh, you put that mesh eventually on the screen. And again, I'm probably not going to run through this because this isn't a super simple example, because I've expanded this now to take in functions, lots of other stuff going through there. But suffice it to say, you're able to throw that thing on the screen. And this particular concept I'm going to talk about is almost universal with anything that you want to throw on the screen or any sort of thing you want to run, quote, run. There's a loop. This loop's called the animation loop. And you basically, in the animate function, you run this thing called request animation frame. And so it's constantly requesting the animation frame, which is kind of cool because that's where you can do your work. And so in that animation frame, as it's looping, you're basically it's basically like a flip book, and you get a chance to tell it what to do on each of those pages of the flip book, basically using math. And so via that math, you can say, hey, if something's sitting at one place in the screen, add it, add the exposition to go a certain way. And so as that flip book keeps going through, it keeps reading a new value, and therefore something changes on the screen. In my particular flip book, so to speak, I've set up some math that says, hey, for each of these objects, each of these balls on the screen, do something. And the thing that I'm doing right now, the thing that you can see that I'm doing not so well, is changing the color of each sphere. They seem to be stable colors. I'm actually working on that one right now. But they should be kind of rotating colors. But what is happening, the right thing that is happening, is that the rotation's changing. Every time an animation frame is requested, I do some math. So every time that flip book turns, I'm doing some math. And what happens here is that the sphere that I've set up earlier when I talked about the mesh and whatnot, again, glossing over this really high level, but breaking down the general concept. And that's really how you have to think about this stuff when you program, is that it's not, people get tied up on the math and programming this stuff. And I was having a great conversation with my son yesterday, and he understands this nicely, that everything in life is composition. Everything is built up from something else. And so the things that appear to be complex on the surface, humans have a bad relationship with time. So we think we'll not understand it. Well, given enough time, you can understand it. Well, the trick is, how much time do you have? Sometimes your mental capacity, some people pick up things quickly, some people pick up things slowly, and that's okay. I think one of the tricks in life is kind of finding out, well, what the heck is your pace in a particular area, and making some trade-offs and decisions on what you want to freaking focus on. My area growing up, one of the first immediate things that I picked up on is that, I grew up in a family that listened to music all the time, so I knew how to dance. I had rhythm. I was jamming. I'm like my grandson. He gets down. So that was a very quick thing I picked up on. And so when my brother taught me DJing, it was relatively easy to go, oh yeah, I know how to catch the beat. I'm messing with my daughter right now. She came down here and I had her scratch. She quickly picked up how to catch the turntable on the one. But there are other concepts that take her a little bit longer time. Now she's going to have to, as she grows up, make determinations how much time she wants to invest in particular things. And that's the same thing with programming. I'm like your boy in Ratatouille. Anyone can cook. I'm like, anyone can program. It's a matter of time. And the amount of capacity that you may have to pick up learning may just not be worth it. And that's okay. Again, didn't mean to turn this into a philosophical discussion, but almost everything is. But it's a matter of time, and hopefully, if you at least have if you happen to have the brain capacity to work that part out, you can make some decisions around, hey, what do I want to spend my time on at a particular moment in time, or how much time do I have, or how much runway. Sometimes people just don't have the runway. There have been plenty of times in my life I just didn't have time to dig in deep on something because I got a family, I got mouths to feed, that sort of thing. So anyway, back to this. How it relates to this is, I'm trying to give a general concept, because there really is, this thing that looks like, ooh, a neat, set of balls spinning on it's actually pretty simplistic, but ooh, a neat set of, objects spinning on the screen. When I first saw this in the threeJS library, I actually looked at this stuff years ago, and I would keep looking at this stuff and be like, nah, that's not for me. I'm not going to be able to do that stuff, so I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to stick with web dev. I'm going to stick with, API development on the server, that sort of thing. But that's a funny thought in and of itself, because when I first saw some of that stuff, it was so complex to me, and I just didn't, figure it out. And I tried to, again, a lot of people have heard this before. I tried to tell my kids, actually, when my daughter was down here DJing, she kept saying, I can't do it. I'm like, you know what I'm probably about to say. No, don't say you can't do it. Add the word at the end of it, add the word yet. You can't do it yet. Because, yeah, it may be true you can't do it, but don't sit there and have this mindset, I can't do it. No, I can't do it yet. Again, how much time you want to put into it. So anyway, these balls on the screen look like they were super complex, A lot of people have done stuff like this. A lot of people do a lot of stuff like this. And if you go to the three.js website, you'll see examples of some amazing things that I feel like, maybe I'll never have time to do. But that's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get some cool animations for my DJ set. And these spheres right now, for the moment, are cool enough. What I want to do later is do things like sync it to the music, have it render text on there because I at least want my logo there. But then I also want to have track listings, maybe kind of. I don't know how I'd do it. I'd have to, again, design wise, I'm not like superstar designer yet. but I just I don't know if I'll have time for that. I may work with someone else. And again, that's where other people come in too. You don't have to know everything. There are people that are gifted in just being able to talk to people and convince them to, come together on stuff. And so, don't feel like you have to know everything. You figure out the things you have time for. And the thing that most people know how to do is, if you can read or write, you may be blessed enough to write down a plan and you execute on that plan. So anyway, these spheres on the screen, they happen because that was a long tangent, and this is why, maybe it'll take forever for me to do this sort of these type of streams. Shut up and DJ is what they tell the brother. But so right here, the sphere rotation X, what all I'm doing is I parse float, and what this float is, this R1 is the where in the heck did I define R1? Is the just some random number. So I wrote a function generate a random number between here and another number. And so what it's that's some randomness, and that's what makes the sphere animation slightly more interesting, is that it's rotating. It's saying, hey, rotate basically a particular distance every the flip book, back to the flip book, every time that animation loop kind of hits, do a choose another random number to rotate by, and it's saying a negative. This minus equals means just decrement, and so it's like whatever the value was before, decrement it, so make it go back by whatever that random number is. And so they do kind of, this thing is technically it's pseudo random, but we're not getting to that. We'll just, for our purposes, it's random. So it does make it make the thing kind of bounce around in what looks like a random manner, kind of rotate both X and Y. So one thing I can do really quick, if I were to get rid of this, you'll be able to see that a little better. And that hopefully this works when I reload. It's only rotating one direction basically. There's something else happening where you see it going in and out that I didn't explain. I also have something that changes the camera basically to zoom in and out. That also gives it some sense of motion. But if you notice, it's only rotating in one direction now. And if I comment out both of these lines, it should just kind of, I actually haven't looked to see what it's going to do, but I know what it's going to do. It's just going to kind of pop back and forth in the, hold on one sec. It's just going to pop back and forth in the viewport, zoom in and out in the viewport. Yeah, it's just going to sit there, which, heck, that's kind of interesting in and of itself, if it kind of zooms in and out in the viewport. But when you get it to bounce around, it makes it fun. Something you did notice is that the colors are subtly changing. And so I do have, part of this is working, but I haven't gotten it to kind of cycle the colors the way I want it to. But we'll work on that later. I'm going to stop this because I've tested what I've needed to. Pretty much, and I've rambled enough, and we'll see how this goes if I continue this sort of thing. See, one more thing I may do before I get started is, or before I quit, is at least do an npx just to see if it works. Okay, so I'm able to create React apps, which is kind of cool. I'm going to call this animation. And what I'm going to do is I'm trying to write an app that is going to house animations like this, so I can set it up so that when I call a web page, I can pass it parameters, even to the point where I can say, hey, via a parameter, these are the things to kind of tweak to make some interestingness there. Because once you get it in there, you could bring it into OBS, which is the software that I'm using to stream this, and basically set up a source called a browser source, and you set up that browser source to point to that code that you've written, and then you can show it on the screen. So that's what I do with my DJ sets. Is there's a track listing you know, if you've looked at any of the DJ sets, which I have 18 now, got a dope Christmas mix out. Um, it changes track listings every time I press a button on my Stream Deck, which again, totally other discussion. Streamers know. Um, but when I do that, it changes. So basically, you wire that in via a source on your OBS program. And so, in the same fashion, I'm going to wire up something that can show these cool animations on my backdrop of my DJ set. And then I can basically say, hey, point it to this particular web page somewhere. Probably have confused the crap out of most people here. Hopefully the rant though about I can't do this yet is super useful, because I was born as a child, as a baby, the same way everyone else is, and just had to figure crap out. You know, didn't have my father around. My mom took care of me best she could, did a fantastic job. Bless her, rest in peace. My siblings did a fantastic job. I was, you know, I got to be in all sorts of cool programs around some peers that were fantastic people. So, you know, the environment helped a lot. And then also just the availability of, you know, nowadays the availability of YouTube to be able to pick up on anything helps like crazy. And of course, my peers at work are super dope. So anyway, rambling again. So I'm out. Peace.